I've only been in Grand Rapids for what, like, I guess you could say a day and a half, and I get it. I do get it. Like, I understand. Y'all can stop now. I understand. You don't have to be nice to me anymore. Y'all come in aggressive. Y'all are like truly like an opposite New York. Y'all come in real hot with how nice you are. Like it's... In a way that's like, look, it's functional. Y'all clearly have a society here. It is good. But is it not exhausting to just be trying to help? My shoe was untied. Okay, my shoe, I was walking and my shoe was untied. I was getting to the light as I was walking, and a guy was like, "Oh, your shoe is untied." But he pointed so low that I couldn't tell if he thought I didn't know where my shoe was or if he was about to tie it for me. Because my man, he's like, "Your shoe is untied." I was like, "Oh." Because I feel like I'm nice. I feel like I'm a generally nice person, so I don't really get why y'all trying to outdo me at every time. I'm like one of the nicest people in New York, and then I come here and I'm like, yeah, y'all win. This is genuinely a lot. I appreciate it though. It's nice to get a break. It's nice to get a break from like eye contact leading to a fight. One time I was on the bus. A lot of my stories that are in New York start on the train or a bus because my life is not going as well as I'd like. Very few things I tell you about will be in a car. I was on the bus and I was just sitting there and I think I was on my phone or something. And I just casually looked up. I don't even know why I looked up. There was no noise, there was no anything, but I just casually looked up and there was one dude across from me already looking at me. So I look up and our eyes meet. And he goes, "What'd you say?" I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you thought I said anything. It's just a lot, you know. Like, I've been there for years now. I've been here for, day and a half. And it just, okay. Like, y'all won't even let somebody be lost. That's too helpful. You gotta let people make their own mistakes. Because admittedly, I was lost. But I wasn't lost in like a cartoonish way. I wasn't lost like a 20 silent film. You know what I mean? I wasn't like... I just looked down at my phone and looked up and looked down at my phone. And when I looked up again, there was just a guy there. And he wasn't just there. He was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, does this dude work at Grand Rapids? It felt like y'all just hire a bunch of Walmart greeters to be outside. Because it's just unsettling, you know? And so I'm clearly lost, you know? If I'm lost from this far away, then I just admit it. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get over here. And he's like, oh, it's right around the corner. I'll show you. And then he walked with me. To which I was like, does he need to go there too? Or what's the plan here? Then we get there, it's across the street, and he points to it. And when he pointed to it, I looked over, and I was like, oh yeah, well thanks man, thanks so much. And I turned around and he was gone. And that's honestly the most upsetting part of the story. Because now I'm like, did I imagine him? Because I don't know, I've lived in New York for years now. And I love living in New York, but I think, this is gonna sound like an ironic thing to say, but I think I love living in New York because I'm not infatuated with the idea of New York, right? New York has a long, beautiful history. There's a place where there's a lot of opportunity and everything, but it's also gonna be a little dirty. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of people. You're gonna get pushed around a lot as people go about their way. It's just a place on earth, you know? I'm not so excited to be there. Because some people are. You've seen some people move to a place like New York and they're like, oh my God, it's happening. I'm in New York City. And you're like, chill that, all right? You gonna get robbed. They're like, but we're in Times Square. It's all happening. It's like, they gonna get both of us. Because you over here acting brand new, all right? I almost got robbed. My first month living in New York, I almost got robbed. I was walking home after work, and I had not had a good day, you know? And this guy walked up and just punched me in the nose. It turns out that's all it takes. I'm not much of a fighter. If you punch me in the nose, I will sit down. It's almost immediate. It's a reflex, really, because this man punched me in the nose and I sat down on a fence immediately. And I don't know if I said it out loud or I just thought in my head, but when he punched me, I was like, I need a minute. And it didn't help that when he punched me in the nose, I grabbed my nose like the daintiest way possible. Like, all fingers were out. This is the most Victorian way to try to stop a nosebleed. This is devastating. I didn't even know this is what I do in that situation. I was just sort of put there, and then this is how I reacted. You know what I mean? So I'm over here clenching my nose as hard as I can. Like, I wonder what it was like from his perspective. Like, if he punched me in the nose and then immediately saw me grab it like this, it was like, did he already have a nosebleed coming? Like, how did he... But this dude punched me in the nose. I sat down, and out of nowhere, this dude, huge dude, ran up and pushed this dude out of the way. And he pushed him so hard, he pushed him down, right? And so he slammed to the ground. He looked up. He saw that big dude. He must have thought we were friends. And so he took off. But I'm sitting there wondering if I look like such an easy target that somebody saw me getting robbed and was like, I could do better. Yeah. And it's funny because I was not having a good day at all. I was new to New York. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a good day at work. I didn't like the place that I was staying. And I feel like a pretty positive person, but everything was happening all at once to make me feel like just in a rut. Like, I try to wake up, be optimistic and everything, but the day it beat me down. And I was just like, I remember I was thinking before this guy walked up to me when I was just walking home, I was thinking, this is the worst. This is like the worst, you know? And I was never thinking of like going back to Chicago or anything, but I was like, this is just the worst. And then I got punched in the nose and I sat down and I was like, this is worse. You really shouldn't tempt fate with superlatives. This is way worse. Because at the time, I didn't have that many of my uniforms, so if I bled on my uniform, I would just look freshly punched at work tomorrow. And I remember this big dude standing over me, right? And he's like, hey, are you okay? Are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be fine. Oh, thank goodness you were here. And he was like, yeah, man, I just can't believe that. Like, I was just at the right place, the right time. I mean, honestly, I'm a little shooken up. That's never happened to me before. I've been able to, like, help somebody like that. And I was like, yes, thank goodness you were here. He would have been very upset. I only have $6. And my man is towering over me. And he's just like, yeah, I've just never been in a situation where I could just help somebody out of nowhere. Because honestly, I haven't always made the best decisions in life. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, he about to rob me. I gave up the game too quickly, and he has now realized he could be $6 richer. And he's just standing over me. He's like, you know, it just feels like the universe put me here in this moment to help you, brought us together. You know, sometimes that happens. In fact, have you heard the good word of the god Oxnif? The god Oxnif of the planet Mars? And I was sitting there like, this is worse. Oh, this is way worse. And I just sat there for 10 minutes listening to this man's cult speech. It's like, if you could please just rob me. Because there's a lot going on in New York. There's a lot of crime. There's crime to the point that the governor saw fit to dispatch 1,000 National Guard to the subway to combat the crime, combat the violence and stuff. And as someone who lives in New York, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not seen one of them this entire time. I feel like they went down to the subway, they looked around, they were like, forget this. I haven't seen a scratch of camo since I've been down there. Because I've been looking for them too. Sometimes something will happen, I'm like, oh. Because, New York, we have a lot of crime, but we also got weird crime. We got some of the weirdest crimes you can imagine. A dude in the Bronx got robbed with a cowbell. And I know you're thinking how, but look, it's metal, it hurts. And especially it's a cowbell literally ringing while you getting hit. You must think like, where are these cows? You get your bell rung in the back of the head by a cowbell, you're like, where is it? Am I getting stomped out by cows right now? There was one dude that got a bunch of assault charges because he was... he was throwing marbles in front of anybody that walked in front of him. And it's like, that is a genuinely hilarious crime. It's one of the funniest assaults you'll ever hear about. Because at first, when I first heard about it, I was like, these YouTubers are getting out of control, all right? Somebody needs to rein them in. It wasn't even that. This kid did not have a camera. He was just being the change he wanted to see in the world. He was out here throwing the bar, people, Do you think it's weird that we put serial killers to death? No. No? Okay. It's just... No, just hear me out. I only ask because somebody got to kill all them and it's usually the same person. So isn't an executioner just a serial killer that made it? Like, isn't he just like the industry plant of serial killers? Like, maybe not. I'm just asking questions. Okay. Y'all probably won't like this. Okay. I saw this story and it blew my mind. I still can't get over it. Okay. There was a guy in, I think it was Indianapolis in the 60s maybe, and he was essentially like, they didn't really have the words for it back then, but he was a serial killer, and he killed and I think he killed and ate 8 women, right? And they caught him because he just got sloppy. He became a hoarder, And it was pretty easy. Once they walked in, they were like, there is evidence everywhere. I am stepping in evidence right now. This is crazy. And so then they, gave him the perp walk, and newspaper took his picture and everything. And then they were interviewing. They did a bunch of follow-ups, and they were interviewing his friends and family and stuff like that. And then they interviewed one woman who he went on a date with between number 4 and number 5, and she was like, I thought we had a great time and went back to his place. And then he, was being all rude and everything. And then he ended up kicking me out. And I was like, wait. As I was reading it, I was like, is she mad she didn't get eaten? It's hard to get context through text sometimes, but she just sounds so indignant. I'm like, wait. She doesn't even sound like, oh, thank goodness. She's like, what's wrong with me? Like, why? Like, all right, I'm delicious, okay? I bit my lip the other day and it was fire, all right? You don't know what you missed. But yeah, she said that, went back to his place. They were chatting and everything, and then like, I don't know, he just, all of a sudden he was all rude and stuff, and then ended up being like, I think it's best if you just go home. You know what I mean? And there was a part of me that was like, look, maybe they were having a great date, great conversation, and then whatever was so special about this woman, he was like, I can't do it. I can't. She's too good of a person. Like, I got to get her away from me. Let me be rude. Let me just kick her out, something like that. Save her from me. But then the other part of me was like, no, I think this is the most annoying person that's ever lived. I think this dude is a serial killer, and he brought this woman home to kill her, maybe eat her, and then she just, at a certain point, the conversation's going so poorly, he's like, I can't even eat this bitch. Like, this. Like, showed a picture of her kissing her cat on the mouth or something. He was like, Some things are just disgusting, all right? Sometimes I really worry badly that we're like, as people, that we're lost. And that one of the reasons we're lost is that we don't really have any more like heroes to look up to. I mean, some people have heroes, but then the hero's like an actor, and I'm like, what are you doing? You want to be like the guy that pretends? You know what I mean? And just, I was thinking about it for a while over the weekend. Because what we used to have was very little access to anyone we considered a hero. And because of that lack of access, if you really wanted to know about this person, if they became famous enough in their own lifetime, there'd be a person that came, a writer that came and followed them around for years, maybe decades, and then they wrote a biography. And we didn't even give a second thought to how biased it probably was, or how much the writer may have come to love this person. We were just like, okay,
wow, what a great human. But that's a problem. I don't even think that everyone makes it seem like Gen Z or Gen X or like millennials, all this stuff like that are so different. I don't think we are. I think every generation of people has always been hopelessly human. And now we just see all of it. That's what's so scary now, is that they're great leaders that may not get the chance because we already saw them not be like worthy. You know what I mean? We find out a lot of the stuff we find out about people now that we think are great after they died. And now we see all the stuff, we see all the mistakes happen in real time, and it makes people harder to follow. Do you really think you would have followed MLK if he did the Tide Pod Challenge? Do you think if a young MLK in high school was like, oh, all right, this is Martin here. We about to see what it do. And then 5 years later, he's like, march with me. They might beat our ass, but come on. No. I'm scared that's what's happening right now. I think that there's a brilliant, young, but smart for her age, wise old soul. There's a incredible person out there right now, a young Angela Davis right now, twerking. And like feet on the wall too, like nasty stuff. And then 20 years from now, when she's ready to lead a revolution, there are gonna be people that are like, this you? This you with the booty? It's like, yeah, it was a different time. It's like, nah, I've seen it now. Yeah, this was tough. That's what we're all like. That's what's so scary. It's like, that's why it takes so much faith to follow a person, but it's hard to have faith when you've just been exposed to all the stuff. I'll tell you what, I was in a TSA line behind someone. I won't say who it was, but it was someone who I respect very much for her work, right? And this didn't change how I felt about her. It's just what piqued this idea in my head, okay? She was in line ahead of me in TSA, and both of our bags got flagged, right? And so then they were doing her bag first, but I was standing kind of like near her because my bag was next. And I was like looking at my bag being like, what did I do? You know what I mean? Because when they flag it, you're like, I don't own a gun or anything, so like, what could this possibly be? And it's always water. It's water every time. It's water. Every single time it is water. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's no way I could have let my box cutter fall into my backpack. And also when your bag gets flagged and you're just like black, you do just start wondering what could happen. You're like, all right, but could somebody have put something in my bag while I wasn't looking? Or like, start adding up the jail time and everything. So I'm standing next to her, and then they open up her bag, and there's a buzzing, and so the guy is like terrified, right? Because as soon as he unzips the bag, because at first he's like chill, he's like that deadpan, like, are there any sharp objects or things that could hurt me when I put my hand in? And she was like, no, and then she's like staring at the bag while he's unzipping it, and then there's a buzzing, and the buzzing is like really strong, and it's buzzing so hard. Now he has to look, and he's like, do you know what that could be? And she's like, no, I have no idea what that could be. And she's like, my alarm is on my phone. I don't know what that could be. And so now this dude, and this is where you could tell that TSA doesn't get trained. They don't get trained for the bad stuff to really happen like that. And so then TSA, this dude over here, the bag is right here, right? This man puts a back foot, like he took a step back and bent his knees like he would run. And I'm like, but then what are we supposed to, because you're not telling us to back up. And you're not calling for backup. You just over here unzipped it through the flap. And then he starts taking some of her clothes out and everything, take some of it. And like, when I tell you, like, look, I know it's gonna sound like I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm being like genuine. When he goes to lift like another clump of clothes, because you know, they're not careful when they do this. They're not like, oh, you folded everything so neatly. I'll just take 3 shirts at a time and move them out of the bag. They just grab and so he goes to grab, and when he ended up grabbing, what he grabbed was whatever was buzzing, and so then it was in his hand for a second, and then this man audibly screamed, right? So then he over here grabbing stuff out of her bag, and then he grabs it, and you can hear it gets louder when it's in his hand, and he pulls it, it's like, and he's like, oh, oh! And then this vibrator went to town on that table. I've never seen, because it wasn't, okay, I don't know how she used it. This seemed like, maybe I'm just vanilla, but I wouldn't be able to handle something like this because it was jumping on, so it wasn't just moving along the table. It wasn't just, this thing was fully like, this motherfucker started breakdancing on the table. And then she was like, oh, that's my, he's like, I know. And now he got his gloves, but then even with the gloves, he seems scared to touch it, right? So then he gets it and like, I'm not acting like I would have known how to turn it off right away. But this really was getting away from him. Like, it really was like he finally grabbed it and he over. I've never seen someone try to do police brutality on a bike, because he tried to she tried to choke the life out of it. And then he finally accidentally turns it off. And he breathing all hard like, is there anything else in there? And she was like, no, that's the only one. And he's like, all right, you're good to go. Puts in, then it did make me laugh at the moment. Like, so not only did he put it back in the suitcase, but then he really like put her clothes back like he was trying to kill it. Like he was. And when I bring the story up, like I said, it didn't make me judge her as a person. I still very much respect her. I'm just saying, if she were to lead a revolution tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, but are we going vibrator first? Because like, I just know that about you now. You know, I hope that's gonna lead the charge. You all have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I'm Josh Johnson. You have a good night.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
There's a lot of times when you're reading the news, going through all these stories that are deeply depressing. Every once in a while you get something that's a little, I don't know, a little spark. Something that takes your mind off of all the bad stuff, even if it is one of the bad things, you know? Like, I don't know if y'all saw, but Diddy's lawyer trying to quit. Okay, Diddy. If you're not familiar, Diddy is gonna be buried under a prison, but in the Constitution, for as long as we have one, there are things. For as long as we have a Constitution, there are things laid out in it that state your rights as a citizen, you know? And your rights in court. You have the right to not incriminate yourself. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right to a speedy trial. You know, you have these rights because we've tried to set up to the best of our ability and not a great ability, a justice system that kind of works. You know what I mean? I look at the American justice system the way I look at my uncle's car, right? It barely runs, but it does turn on and off. Like functionally, it is still a car, even if you do have to push it sometimes to really get it started, and you can't trust the brakes. It's functionally it fills the definition of a car. You know? And when I look at the justice system, I'm like, it's a system. But within that system, for as long as we've had it, we've had an individual, whether they did or did not do something, needs to be represented by someone up against the state or the party suing them. And the people that take on these criminal cases, maybe they take them on because they just know our system works best when there's at least someone where it won't be popular, but there's someone to stand on the other side of the thing to make sure that the scales are balanced, that gives an honest effort, even if this person did what they're accused of doing, is a monster. None of that matters, because for the justice system to be a system, we at least have to walk in the door with the scales at balance, right? Innocent until proven guilty, and just something so that we don't all tear each other apart. And then there are people who really believe their clients. They really believe in the innocence of this person. They're like, I know this thing looks bad, and I know from every angle that everyone should just throw their hands up. But I believe this person when they told me that they didn't do it, and so they represent them, right? And neither of those seem to be the case for Diddy. Like that was all mostly theoretical. It's just his lawyer quitting. His lawyer's name, I might be mispronouncing it, but I'm pretty sure it's Anthony Rico, which is one of the most insane last names to have while not wanting to represent Diddy at all. That would be like your lawyer's name being Danny Murder, and he's like, I can't be next to you though. That's wild that I can't be over here. Because I didn't even know that lawyers, I didn't know that lawyers could quit. Everything I know about the law, I know from like movies and TV and stuff. And usually when you're watching a movie or TV show where someone is having, you know, a butting head scene with their lawyer, it's either the lawyer being like, well, look, if you're not going to be honest with me, you're not going to tell me everything, then you can just find somebody else. And you don't really know what that means, right? Or the person in jail be like, or you're not even doing your job. You don't even believe me. You know what? You're fired. And then I don't know what that means. You know? But in Diddy's case, this person, I didn't know that you couldn't just quit. I didn't know that you could quit, but I also, if you could quit, I didn't know you couldn't just quit. This is sounding dumber than I'm intending it to sound, but I'm telling you the way I found out. I didn't know that you could quit, and then when I found out you could quit, I didn't know that you couldn't just leave. You have to file a motion to quit. You have to like let the judge know I need to quit. You can't just quit the way you quit at Costco. You can't just walk out middle shift. Like, you know what, I'm gonna do something else in my life. You know? And so, he filed a motion so that he could quit. And in the motion, he says, under no circumstances can I continue. Woof. Under no circumstances can I continue. This man's paying you millions of dollars. Under no circumstances can I continue. And then they, you ask, hey, why can't you continue? And he said, hey, look, I'm not going to give you any reasons, okay? People are asking him, I'm not going to give you any reasons, okay? Because that would violate attorney-client privilege, which I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the law. I don't know many laws at all. But that sounds very guilty to me. That sounds wildly guilty. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the law. That sounds very guilty. It feels like he when you're saying, hey, why are you quitting? Because I have to. Why? I can't tell you it would violate attorney-client privilege. Just that sounds like he did it then. That sounds like he did everything then. And the thing that's special about this particular lawyer, Anthony Rico, saying under no circumstances can I continue, is that this guy was Osama bin Laden's lawyer. And it's like that. Sir, what did he do? What did he do to make you, who defended Osama bin Laden, who defended Osama bin Laden in 2001, peak Osama? If there was ever a time where the heat was on Osama bin Laden, it was 2001. And you were right there, like my client. But Diddy, you were Diddy's lawyer. And you were like, you know what? Terrorism is one thing. This guy is nasty, okay? That is very nasty. I can't be a part of this. Tonight it doesn't sit well with my soul. Oh. Because I know if you're Diddy's lawyer, you got your work cut out for you. You got a whole lot of work cut out for you. You have to hope a new pandemic breaks out that only affects memory. That's the only way you have a chance, is if almost everybody forgets everything. Because look, once again, most of what I know about the law, most of what I know about the law comes from like Law and Order, which means I know nothing about the law. Because in Law and Order, they got to wrap it up pretty quick. They take you on a journey, but they got to wrap it up by the end of the episode. Everything can't be to be continued, And so they got to wrap it up. So if they choose to have any of the episode take place in court, a lot of times what will happen, especially if you get into those close minutes where you're like, ooh, it's almost top of the hour. How are we going to resolve this, right? They usually just have the prosecutor, like the DA or the ADA, really badger the defendant, right? Like, you did it, didn't you do it? You did it, and you do it again. You looking and doing it right now. You did it, and you did it, and you did it well, and then you did it, and then you got caught, and you wish you were doing it right now. Look at you, you're not even here. You're letting your eyes glaze over. You're in your mind doing it again. Look at him, he's doing it again right now. He's doing it in front of us, and doing it, and doing it, and doing it. Didn't you do it? Just say you did it, because you did it, and we all know that you did it. You'll never not have done it because you did it and you know you did it. You do it again if we let you out. You doing it right now in your mind. You did it, and then the other person finally goes, I did it. And usually they freak out and they're like, I can't handle having to say no more than 8 times. I did it. Oh no, the jury. Dick Wolf. And That's not how it actually works in the real world. Like, sure, there are people who testify and then don't help their case. You know, they get up there and they say things that maybe make them look like they're not sorry or make them look more guilty than they're even presumed to be and everything. But you don't really have that with Diddy. Not just because the trial hasn't started, but with Diddy, he did record himself doing everything he's accused of doing, and the FBI has it. That is pretty bad. Only thing worse than doing something is doing it on camera. You know? Even if the entire jury could not see, they could hear. So it's rough. He also has not only the lawyer that Osama bin Laden had, Diddy's got like 3, 4, 5, 6 lawyers. Got a lot of lawyers. I didn't even know you could have that many lawyers. I guess you can have as many lawyers as you want, but like that already. I'm not a lawyer. Glad I'm not on the jury, but that looks very guilty to me. Everyone that I know who's ever gone to jail or been found innocent and didn't go to jail, they had one lawyer. They had one lawyer to be like, hey, it's just me and he didn't do it. That was the whole proceeding, right? They didn't have a soccer team. That's crazy. You got so many lawyers. I bet you that was one of the things that his lawyer said. He was like, look, you're gonna be good. You got 80 other lawyers. Okay, you don't need me. Let me go. Please, I know too much. No, because at a certain point, a certain amount of lawyers, I know that everyone has their specialties, but that looks bad to me, at least. It's like you need that many specialties at once. You accused of that many things that you go ahead and break up the work like a group project. And then to say you have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 92 lawyers, for any one of them to quit does make everything look worse. You know who didn't quit? OJ's lawyer. OJ's lawyer saw everything. He even saw him in the Bronco, and he was still like, I got you. We gonna be good. You know who else did quit? Jeffrey Dahmer's lawyer. He saw that to the end. Ted Bundy didn't even quit defending himself. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. Let me see how this plays out. At any point, he could be like, you know what? I'm making me look extra guilty. Let me go ahead and get some help in here. No, it's mind-blowing. I don't get it. You represent Osama bin Laden. And he was number one in the world. You went for the criminal. You repped the criminal. And whatever we're finding out about Diddy behind closed doors, you were like, not this. Yuck. No. Because you see people in situations where they look incredibly guilty or they do something very dumb that's almost indefensible and they still have legal representation that sticks by them. There was a dude who, okay, I shouldn't laugh, but it's one of the dumbest crimes I've ever heard of. So basically, there was this dude who went to break into it was his house. He lived with his mom, right? But he was gonna go ahead and rob the house and try to sell a bunch of stuff off, right? So then he broke into the house and then got caught because I guess police were just happened to drive by, right? And then they see him breaking the window, going into the house. Had a key, breaking the window, going into the house, and then coming out with the stuff. They arrest him, and he can't believe. He's like, you have no right to arrest me. And at first, because he's explaining everything, they thought they had no right to arrest him because it was his place where he lived with his mom, even though it was her house, right? And he said, no, you have no right to arrest me because it's daytime. He genuinely believes You could only get arrested for burglary at night. And his lawyer didn't quit. There was a dude who he tried to rob a bank. He ran up in the bank. This was years ago. This dude ran up in the bank and had his gun out, and he was like, go ahead and empty everything right now. I'll kill everybody. I don't care, swinging the gun and everything. And then the tellers were like, do you want a bag? Because he just came in, just him and the gun, just waving, him and the gun. No bag, no, not even a backpack, just here with the gun. The money now. And they were like, would you like something to hold it with or anything? And he was like, damn right, it's a real gun. And they were like, sir, we asked, would you like a bag? Would you like a bag with the money? We're getting the money right now, but would you like a bag? And he's like, you're right, I've had it. And then they turned to each other and they were like, I don't think he can hear us. And so then they hit the alarm. The alarm going off, this dude's standing there. I'm waiting for my money. They're like, no, we're getting it. They get the money, they get the bag, and before he can even leave the bank, cops roll up. And basically, yeah, he was hearing impaired. And so then he sued them for taking advantage of his disability. And his lawyer stood by him. Do you see how this normally works? That's how it's supposed to go. Your lawyer is supposed to stand by you. They're supposed to be your ride or die. Diddy's lawyer said, no, I like to live and I will not be getting in the car. Oh, that's insanity. That many lawyers. You got 98,000 lawyers. I feel like Diddy just gonna keep hiring lawyers to make sure there's no one left to be on the jury. I don't even know what you would do. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at a situation like this where the whole world knows about Diddy and Diddy's case, right? It's global news, right? And everyone is expecting things to come out during his case. So there's more eyes on it than even when it started. It wasn't just a thing that popped up, oh, Diddy got arrested and then it's over. It's the fact that all of Hollywood could be implicated. That's the feeling that people have, right? So people are going to be watching the trial nonstop for every update possible because maybe your favorite pop star, maybe your least favorite R&B artist, whoever, right, will be involved in this case somehow. And so the whole world will be watching, and the whole world already knows. So how could you not have, in a sense, at least if you're Diddy's defense, a tainted jury? Because how are you going to pull from people who can be impartial, who don't know who Diddy is, right? And then when you pull those people, a judge can say, and judges tell people all the time, look, I don't want you to engage with any media about the case. I don't want you reading any tabloids or social media or anything like that. And don't talk to anybody about the case. No podcast, no whatever, right? No interviews, no nothing. And even if you do that, it's impossible because of the way that we live in the world and the way that we interact with social to not be bombarded with things about whatever the biggest news topic is. So then how is it possible for Diddy to have a fair jury, right? And his lawyer could have made that case just now. And instead he said, no, I'm getting away from this dude. I cannot be near him at all. That's so bad that the only black lawyer he had was like, nah. You're not gonna get me caught up. Because, you know, I think he's just scared. I think he's scared that he's so close to it that he's literally just representation, but he might go to jail. That can happen. I didn't know that could happen, but that can happen. I had never seen it happen in my life until Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, in case you don't remember, was Trump's lawyer. And Trump got in some legal trouble. And somehow, Michael Cohen went to jail. That's a superpower. That's a superpower if I've ever seen one. I've never seen someone dodge charges so hard they hit their lawyer in the chest. That's crazy. That's the I'm rubber, you're glue of law. That's insane. Trump had all this legal trouble. He's like, take him. Michael, I'm sure Diddy's lawyer saw that and was like, that could happen to me. I refuse. My last name is already Rico. No, have to get away. Because who takes up for you is huge. Who takes up for you in a situation where you're in the public eye and you have a scandal or you've been found to have done something, right? Whoever takes up for you, they do shift the narrative around you, and they do shift public opinion, either for you or against you, right? Like, let's say in a scenario, right? Completely hypothetical scenario. Let's say I'm driving. I can't. I'm very bad at it. But let's say I'm driving. Once again, this would never happen, all right? I failed my driving test and I have not driven since, okay? I'm very bad. But let's say I'm driving behind the wheel of a car, which I should never be. It's a chair that could kill someone. It is insane that people just get in those and just go. Like, that blows my mind. I will take an Uber or the bus. I am fine without being behind the wheel of a death machine because all it takes is your foot and you could just take anybody out. That's crazy. I don't like being in cars in the front driving. Every time I move, it moves. That's crazy. I don't like that at all. I'll sit in the back. But let's say I'm driving, okay? And I'm driving because maybe my friend is hurt. Maybe my friend's like, oh no, I'm bleeding. No, I've been shot, whatever it is. And then he's like, you have to drive me to the hospital. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll kill us both. And so then I get in the car and then I'm hitting stuff. I'm just, because I don't know which one's the gas and which one's the brake, because honestly, they should be further apart. In my opinion, it should be like go-karts, like right foot gas, left foot brake, and then you can just drive like this. This feels more natural to me. I don't know what y'all are doing with this thing. This feels insane. To see people doing this all the time, ooh, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna stop, whatever. I wanna just do it like when you're in a go-kart. I drive so well in a go-kart, not just because I can't go fast enough to murder, but also because I know that left is stop, and that's fine. But sometimes you get a foot, uh-oh, I've hit them both. What does that do? So then I'm in the car and I'm driving, right? And I'm doing it poorly because I do it poorly. Because as I've said before, on stage, to many people, I don't like lefts. So I take rights until I get there, okay? So I'm just gonna take a right and then take a right, take a right. My friend probably gonna bleed out, but I'm taking these rights because a left will kill everybody, right? Now, I get to the hospital. Let's say I've got to the hospital and I have run over at least 26 people, okay? So I'm being arrested. My friend is hopefully being treated, so I've saved his life, but I am in a lot of trouble. And let's say that Dolly Parton came to my defense, right? Because I'm not famous enough to get in trouble on the news, but there might be a couple of tweets where it's like, do you see that comedian just floored everybody? Just drove on the sidewalk for 6 blocks and took a right and drove on the sidewalk for 4 more blocks and took a right and drove on the sidewalk for 2 blocks and then took a right and then got to the hospital and hit somebody in front of the hospital. And I only hit them because I was trying to hit the brake, but it should be over here. But instead, it's in the middle. I guess. I don't know. I'm never in the car right there. I don't know what y'all do. Why isn't it just pep? Why isn't it just buttons? Let me hit a gas button. That would be nice. To just have the wheel and then a button. Right thumb is gas, left thumb is brake, and it's like a video game, but instead you're just over here. Crazy way to do it, but y'all do you, okay? Let's say, though, that Dolly Parton comes to my defense. Probably never gonna happen. I don't know her, would love to, but let's say. She's like, I know Josh personally, okay? And I know he would never purposely run over 26 people. It must have been something that happened. And you say he was in a car. He said he would never do that. It must be an emergency. Oh, he was trying to help his friend. Y'all, please, if you can find it in your heart, to forgive Josh and his dumb feet. I'm just saying, if Dolly Parton came to my defense, I think that would shift a lot of people's opinion of me. Everyone loves Dolly Parton. Everybody knows Dolly Parton is a sweetheart. And so if she came to someone's defense, you would think, oh, if Dolly sees something in this person, then yeah, maybe they're a good person. Maybe she's right. Maybe he didn't mean to run over 26 people. No. I don't know what Diddy does from here, because the guy who represented Osama bin Laden dipped. I don't know who you get after that. That seemed like the bottom or the top, depending on what your definition of willing to represent evil is. I don't, like, if the dude who represented Osama is like, I'm a dip, I don't know who else would jump in, you know? Giuliani? Okay, well, he lost his license. I'm positive he lost his license. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's the only one who can do it. I have no idea. Because someone did come to Diddy's defense in the wake of Diddy losing that representation, you know, close proximity to Diddy's lawyer being like, I can't do this anymore. Someone did come to Diddy's defense publicly. Unfortunately, it was Kanye West. In a tweeting tirade, Kanye West went on an absolute rampage. He called himself a Nazi. He posted a bunch of like anti-Semitic stuff. He said all sorts of things. And then he said, by the way, free Puff. I think if you're Diddy in jail, you're like, this is worse. That is worse. I did not know it could get worse than the Osama bin Laden lawyer leaving me. But this is bad. This is very, very bad. That was me kind of like doing a little bit of rap in the way that Diddy does it because he's not good at it. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, this is bad. This is worse because he's calling himself a Nazi, and then he's like, also, that guy. Think of that guy and me together right now. Think of when you think of me, I want you to think of him, all right? But who knows? Maybe when the lawyer who represented Osama bin Laden dips, maybe the only person left to represent you is Ye. I think that's, I could see that. I could see Ye showing up to court being like, Your Honor, I rest my case.
Give it up for Josh Johnson!
I've lived in New York little over 10 years now. And it's been incredible, but a lot. It has. It truly, like when I first moved here, I didn't have an apartment ready. I used my job to transfer to move here, but then I needed a place to stay. And I found an apartment with some friends, but the lease wasn't gonna start until long after I got here, so I had to sublet. And so I had to figure out a sublet in Chicago before I ever got here, which means I had to schedule and pay for a sublet on faith. I didn't get to look ahead of time, I just saw pictures. Pictures of wherever that was. Because I get into town. This is like I get to New York. I got like 2 suitcases and my backpack. Everything I got in it, stuffed in it. And then I get to the sublet and I walk in. You know, some of the people I'm gonna be staying with let me in, give me a key because we're all subletting. Turns out everybody in here doesn't live here. We're just an entire apartment full of subletters. And then they showed me to my room, and I walk through the kitchen, and I get ready to walk to the next room, and the guy showing me around is like, stop, that's my room. What? This is your room. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because this is the hallway. And he was like, no, it's not a hallway. No, this a railroad apartment. And I was like, sir, I'm from Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. We have railroad houses. I understand the setup. And this is not a railroad apartment because it has quite a lot of corners. A lot of twists and turns to get to other rooms. This is not a railway apartment. This is a hallway. And then he's like, yeah, but I mean, this is the setup. Like, I'm already in this room, and then other guys in the other room, and then other guys in the other room. So that really it's, you know. Now I didn't know what to do. I had already paid the money. And I didn't have, because the person I paid the money to wasn't there. So then I'm like, it's either stay here or come up with a little bit of money to get like a hotel room or something. It just didn't make sense. So I was like, okay, I guess I live in the hallway. And so I set my stuff down, and they were like, oh yeah, I know that there was a bed in the picture. And in my head, I was like, how do you know there was a bed in the picture? I thought you were also subletting. It's like, I know there's a bed in the picture, but you know, you could do what I did when I first moved to New York. You could go ahead, go to Target or something, get one of those air mattresses, and just keep returning it before the warranty is up. And immediately I took a step back. I was like, sir, you scam air mattresses? I don't feel safe here at all. He's like, yeah, and if you return it every 2 weeks, you can keep it brand new. I was like, oh, all right, I'll look into that. And the first night, when I moved to New York, I got here in like the afternoon, was immediately devastated by my living situation, but then went out and went to shows, went to as many shows as I could. And then it came time to come back to my hallway. And I was standing there for a second. I was looking around. I was like, you know what? No. You got to draw the line somewhere. And so I went into the living room and I slept on the couch. You know, the couch is all right. And some time passed. You know, we all got along pretty well.
except for one dude. There was one dude that kept eating my food and trying to blame a dog that did not exist in this apartment. I came back one day and like the bagel I had just left on the counter was gone. And so I was like, hey, does anybody know what's happening? This is crazy now. Like what's going on? He comes out of his room and he's like, oh, you know, that doggone dog came in here. I was trying to wrestle it from him, but I could still see like poppy seeds on his lips. It's like, did you wrestle it with your mouth? And then after like 3 weeks, they tried to hold an intervention with me. Yeah, with me. The person not pretending there's a dog in the apartment. And this is the thing, this is what bothers me. Okay, obviously it sucks that, you know, he stole some of my food and that he lied about it and everything. But then just to try to keep the lie up, he would make random dog noises in the apartment. Which only gives you more explaining to do. He'd be in the apartment, in the living room, I'd be in my hallway. I'd hear him. And then obviously I come into the living room to see what type of dog keeps eating my bagels. And it would just be him. Sitting there like, he just ran out. No, they sat me down to have an intervention with me, and they were like, you've been making everybody uncomfortable. Because you've been sleeping on the couch this entire time, and the couch is really more of a communal space. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. Ooh, I see where you're coming from. Because you know it's also a communal space? The hallway I live in. Even being here for things like the snow, you know. Like I'm from Louisiana, so snow is still majestic to me. Whenever it really snows heavy, I'm like, wow, look at it coming down all slow. I still do that thing where I try like trace snowflakes all the way down, make yourself real dizzy. No, snow is incredible. Except for here. Don't get me wrong, it can be beautiful. If it's gonna be like a real blanket of snow and it's gonna stick, then yes, everything's covered in white, it's gorgeous. If it's just kind of snowing, if it's just lightly snowing, if it's just sleeting a little bit, it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life, because it hits the ground, it immediately disappears. It goes into some sort of camouflage mode that's just made for slipping. It'll cake up a little bit, but then it gets all black and gray and brown, and then it starts like getting holes in it. Looks like a monster that's coming to eat you. You gotta have your wits about you at all times. You walking in this slippery, sleety snow. Because if you fall, you have fallen into wet New York. Nothing will make you want to die faster than having wet New York on your back. And everybody know you got wet New York on your back, because even when you get up, look, I hope you can get up. I pray you can get up. Because once you fall, watching Watching you get up would be like a deleted scene from Home Alone because the ground doesn't make it easy and no one helps you. Nobody helps you. Everybody will go, ooh. Nobody gets close. Nobody throws a hand out because they don't want you to bring them down because that's exactly what you'll do. I tried to help somebody once. It was tiny. This tiny man. Taking these itty bitty steps. You knew he didn't want to fall because you knew he was he might as well have been 200 feet in the air the way he was looking at this. He was taking weird turns for no reason. He was like, avoid that, no. No, he was taking rights and lefts like he was driving. And then this man took one step. Just took this one step. And as soon as he put his foot down, he was like, oh. The amount of backwards he flew was unfair for how light the step was. I'm not a physicist, but I imagine that if you're gonna slip, like a Looney Tune, you should have been running. Like the fact that this man took such a small step and then he looked up in the clouds, facing the clouds, and then landed. And this man landed, and we didn't even go, ooh, we went, because we were sure he was gone. That fall was up there when like somebody in their 90s take a nap. Because the way he was rested, we were like, because you land on your back, you need to gather yourself. You can't just get up right away. You got to make sure your soul's still in your body. This man hit the ground. Was just staring up at the sky. I was like pretty close to him. A couple other people were pretty close to him. And we were all looking over like... We thought... No one said anything, but I could tell for like 6 seconds, we all thought he passed with his eyes open. Because he was over here looking... And then after a little while, this man blinked. And we were like, oh, thank goodness. I don't think my day could have handled a body. And so then I go to help him up. I'm like, ooh, sir, are you all right? Are you okay? And he didn't say anything, he just kept blinking. Then finally, he like saw my hand, he stuck his hand up. And I don't even really feel like I had time. I didn't really have time to grab his hand. I feel like as soon as our fingertips touched, he was like, ha! You know how you gotta be careful when you're trying to, when somebody's drowning and you're trying to save them, sometimes they could fight so hard that they drown you. You know, they over here pushing you down, trying to stay above the water and everything. As soon as I touched this man's hand, he pulled me down in a way that wasn't pragmatic at all. Like, I didn't have my bearings. I didn't have my knees bent, ready to lift him up or anything. He just pulled as hard as he could. And for as little as he was very strong. He was very strong, and admittedly, I'm pretty light. And so as soon as he pulled me, I could feel the whole thing happen. I could feel my hand. I was like, "Sir, are you all right?" And stuck my hand out. And I swear it happened in slow motion. I swear. The way I tried to scream no before my face touched the ground. Face first. This man pulled me so hard, I hit the ground like I fell out of the sky. And now we both there, laying there, drowning. Everybody saw what happened to me. Everybody else backed up. Everybody was like, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh." And now I'm over here fighting to get up. I swear I know how to do push-ups. But there's something about how slippery the ground is in New York, where even when you think you're doing a perfect push-up, you end up just whoop, whoop, whoop. Finally, he and I, as a team, used each other to get up. It wasn't easy, and it took forever. I remember because we were both at least like, okay, if we get back to back, we should at least be able to sit up. I remember sitting on the ground and then turned to him like, "You ready?" We finally make it back to our feet. Nobody helped us. And we were covered in wet New York. That ruined my entire week. I think I got some of it in my mouth. It's one of the most disgusting experiences you can have. I remember I thought I was somewhat ready. When moving to New York, I thought, okay, they have a bus system. I'm living in Chicago. I'm used to a bus system, I'm used to a train system, like I just got to figure out the schedule, got to figure out my routes and stuff. I should be okay. It was very different than if I had moved straight to New York from Louisiana. I had a little bit of an adjustment, so it wasn't as much of a culture shock. But I wasn't ready for some of the versions of the things here. I took the bus in Chicago, took the bus all the time, but Chicago's on like a grid system. You take this bus, it's gonna go that way. Forever. It'll go that way till you're not in Chicago anymore. You take the bus here. To be fair, it's different in the city. Sometimes in the city, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like here to over here, and it's gonna be miles long or whatever. But taking the bus in Brooklyn, that's the most like carpooling I've ever felt on public transportation. There was a couple buses I would take when I first moved here, when I was like getting my bearings and everything, and I got to know some of the people. On my bus rides, I got to know some of the bus drivers. I remember one who was training, and I could tell he was training because this wasn't the bus route. I try not to be that person. I really, genuinely, I try not to be a know-it-all because, look, I don't know everything, and there are plenty of times where I think I know something and then I end up looking stupid. But I do go home every day. One thing I do every day is go home. And so I'm used to the general look of on the way home. And this bus is on my way home, but this bus is not going towards my home at all. I'm seeing new restaurants. I'm seeing I'm looking out the window and something is wrong. None of the familiar checkpoints, none of them. Also, people keep pulling and he not stopping. We on the bus, everybody kidnapped. Everybody. I'm looking out the window, I'm not seeing anything I'm used to seeing. I'm like, either gentrification is moving at lightning speed, or we are not on the route home. And finally, somebody said something. Somebody said something. Somebody was like, because you never know, you want to be respectful, but you don't even know what to say. You don't even know what to go, Mr. Bus Driver? Mr. Bus Driver, I don't think we on the way home. Didn't respond right away. Kept trying. Mr. Bus, I don't think this is the right way. I take it every day, and I don't think we're going the right way, and we also haven't seen any of the stops. Because what I tell you, we are not seeing bus stops. We're not on a different route by accident. There's no way to get off. And then this man over here, huh? And I'll tell you one thing that genuinely makes me very angry. It actually really bothers me, is when somebody thinks that the only thing to do when they don't know what to do, the thing that shows strength, the manliest thing to do is just double down. That you could convince me against reality. Like, there's something manly about pretending not to be wrong even when you're wrong. You know? And I'm sitting here on the bus, and this man is over here, huh? You could hear from the panic in his voice, he knew. I don't think we're going the right way. No, we on the way. Well, just in case, maybe you'll let one of us put you back on the right way with some Google Maps. Imagine standing at the front of the bus. No, you're gonna want to take a left here. I love taking the bus though, because I do enjoy bus drama. You always catch people, because on the bus, nobody's on the bus for that long, so all the drama that you overhear or all the drama that you witness is like the middle of the story. It's always like a small little pocket. I was taking the same bus for months and got to know one of the bus drivers, and there was this one day I get on the bus. 2 stops later, this woman gets on the bus.
arm in arm with this man, walks right up to a bus driver, puts the Metro card in. This is back when they had Metro cards. Put the Metro card in, take it back, looks at him and goes, "Hello, Harold." I couldn't pull my AirPods out fast enough. Because Harold looking shook. This is origin story stuff. "Hello, Harold. How you doing?" "I'm good." Saying, "I want you to meet my new man." "His name's Ethan." And Ethan's standing there like he didn't know that this is why they took the bus. Like Ethan not trying to flex on Harold at all. He looked very confused. Like, and then she takes a little turn, start walking down towards the seats. It's like, right after she says, "This is my new man, Ethan," she's like, "We're headed back to his place." Look. Listen to me. I understand that, like, as men, we haven't been great, throughout history and stuff. But it is diabolical. It is clear and present evil to make your ex-boyfriend drive you to your new boyfriend's house. That's crazy. It all happened so fast. She got off the bus. "Hello, Harold. This is Ethan. We're going back to his place. He's an engineer." And poor Harold sitting there, closed the door. And you could tell he needed a second. He didn't hit the gas right away. Ethan walking back there with this girl, and he clearly feels some type of way. Harold couldn't just let that go unanswered. No, he was about to drive them for his job back to Ethan's place. And he'd know where it was because they hit they pulled. Harold's sitting there and he rubbed his forehead real quick and then he turned, he was like, "I don't know what kind of engineer he is taking the bus." Ethan was standing there like, "What did I do? I didn't."
When I moved to New York, there was a lot that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know, okay? I had no idea that when you went to the bodega, that there would be a cat. The first time I went to a bodega and I saw the cat, it was just me, I'm just being honest with you. I walked in, I was like, okay, unprofessional. Professional. We all got our pets. We all love our pets, but this is a place of business. People don't just bring their cat to the office. Had no idea that the bodega cat was there for a reason. I had no idea bodega cats were there for a reason until I walked into a bodega. That didn't have a cat. And I saw a rat. And I didn't just see a rat. I saw Mr. Rat. Because I walk down the aisle and I see this rat. And there was a time back in the day where there were only a few rats that were this brazen. They all used to be a little bit more skittish. Remember, pre-COVID, pre-COVID, you would see a rat, and that rat had the Christianity to run when it saw you see it. There used to be only a few brave rats, and now post-COVID, they're all pretty laid back. This was years ago when I moved here, but I saw this rat, and living in Chicago, even living in Louisiana, you expect when you see a mouse or a rat and you make your presence known, they're like, oh, gotta get out of here. No. I walked out, I see this rat sees me. This rat actually looked me up and down. And that's why I was like, oh, the cat. I see. I get it now. No, because you would see these bodega cats, not necessarily friendly, not always down for a little pet or anything. And they'll be perched up too. They always find somewhere that's comfortable for them. It doesn't matter where it is. It'll be on the snacks. It'll be on the saltines you need, but that's where they'll be perched up somewhere. They don't even meow right. First time I heard a bodega cat meow, it was over here. Had that little like quiet yawn. Went to open his mouth. I'm expecting to hear a little purr, something sweet, you know. So, you know what I mean? Something subtle. You know? Not at all. This bodega cat was over here. I was like, this is an uncle. This is... This is crazy. No, I saw this bodega cat out there. Perched up. And I turned the corner. And I saw a mouse. And I was like, in the same place. The cat was here. The mouse was there. The cat wasn't moving. I was like, okay. Unprofessional. All right? You supposed to be at work right now. This... Oh. Like, I get that they're there to serve a purpose, you know. The cat takes care of the rat. But then, different time, I was in bodega. We saw this cat perched up, getting real comfortable. Didn't see a rat in sight. I was like, okay, he's been busy. Doing his job. I'm getting my bagel. And then I hear this cat. And then this cat coughed up a hairball. And I was standing there like, I think I prefer the rat. This is crazy. What happened just now? Was there a cat in him? You know, sometimes one thing is a means to an end, but it's not the best thing either. It can still be pretty bad. Like when Trump grabbed Maduro, right? In case you're not familiar with Maduro, leader of Venezuela, who Trump went ahead and grabbed and kidnapped and brought here. And look, Maduro's terrible. Like, Maduro is actually horrible. Like, two things can be true. I think that as Americans, like, living in the US, we want a story to be clear. We want a clear protagonist, antagonist. We want one good guy, one bad guy. We forget that sometimes you could have two villains. Because just because Maduro was bad doesn't mean you can't look at the way Trump would have grabbed him and go, ooh, not like that, That doesn't mean you want Maduro back in, but it's also, what is this? What have you done now? You know, Trump grabbed Maduro, and then he got that man in that federal detention center. He got him in the same federal detention center. This is the same federal detention center that they kept Diddy. And look, Diddy wasn't there because he's been sentenced and everything, but whew, can you imagine? Can you imagine what that day would have been like for Maduro if he was? Like, imagine, you were the president. And then you just went to bed. Very stylish pajamas, by the way. You went to bed. And then you wake up, you getting grabbed. They bring you to Brooklyn. They bring you to Brooklyn, and imagine, I know it didn't happen this way, but pretend with me for a second. You get into this federal detention center and you see Diddy. Looking over like, oh no. You don't know him personally, but you've heard stories. And now you sitting there in like gin pop or whatever. Maybe you just trying to have lunch. And Diddy approach you. Diddy walks up to you, maybe stands over you, leans down and goes, I heard you got oil. And now you gotta disappoint them. Now you gotta get the message across. No, not that type of oil. And Diddy says some heinous Diddy type stuff. He says something like, well, slippery, slippery. They got Maduro in there. In the same places that they kept Tekashi 6ix9ine. If you don't know who Tekashi 6ix9ine is, he's a rapper, allegedly. And he's known for his tattoos, more tattoos than body. Also known for his antics on the street, how he's always involved in some beef or some drama or something like that. He's also known for his colorful hair, these grills, just his whole aesthetic. It's very unique. It's one of the reasons he got so popular. There really is nobody doing things the way that he did them. It's why he was such a phenomenon. And you're Maduro. And you look over and you see Tekashi 6ix9ine. You turn to somebody, you ask, who is that? You're like, oh, well, that's Tekashi 6ix9ine. You're like, I feel like my English is pretty good. But I didn't understand anything you just said. You just said a word I've never heard with some numbers. Is he a robot? What happened to the other 68? No, this is the same place that they kept Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, El Chapo. This is like a real-life Arkham Asylum. They got that man in there in the same place. They got Luigi Mangione. Whew. Wow. I don't know. You see things happen in prison all the time. You know,
People talk about corruption. They talk about, it's a faulty facility. Conditions are bad and everything. And there's a lot of corruption in the prison system. And as long as there's corruption, maybe just leave Luigi alone with a 3D printer. Let him go to work for a little while. Just see what happens. Well, just turn the cameras off, They did it for Epstein. But yeah, Trump went and grabbed Maduro. And if you don't know, because I don't expect everybody to know, I feel like we in the US are not always up on current events in other places, their systems of government and their leaders and everything. But Maduro, terrible. I can't stress this enough. This dude was willing to let 80% of his nation fall into poverty. A country that was rich in natural resources, but he was willing through corruption to let inflation get out of control. He wanted to seize and consolidate all of his power. He did everything to quell protest, and he But yeah, that's the dude that got him. Went and grabbed Maduro. And when you ask questions about what's next, because this is the other thing. This is why it's a sort of fool's errand to defend every one of Donald Trump's actions, because you'll see these people, whether they're pundits, whether they're senators, whether they're whatever, sycophants, whatever, they come out and they give some almost noble or some at least logical reason for this crazy thing that has happened. They'll talk about what type of leader Maduro was, or how the people of Venezuela are living in this poverty. They'll give all these reasons why they went and grabbed him. But then Trump, unprovoked, will make a statement that undercuts everything that they said. They'll talk about bringing wealth back to the country, how this is the best possible thing for the United States and Venezuela, and that the president has the interests of the Venezuelan citizens and the U.S. citizens at heart completely. And then Trump will come out and be like, it was oil. I really just want that oil. Even now with Greenland. What is happening? No one knows what's happening. They're sending troops over there to Greenland. You have people in the EU being like, we're just gonna send some people over to Greenland just to make sure. Meanwhile, Trump's over here, I'll slap tariffs on anybody that disagrees with what I'm doing in Greenland, which is I don't know, the world? People in Greenland aren't happy. People in Greenland are protesting. You know how much you gotta mess up to be protested in a country that you're not even in? It's insane. And no one really knows what the plan is. And no one knows what his plan is. I actually think that he's talked about it a little bit too much, and he's a little too far gone to just do nothing. He set himself on a path, and because he's the type of person that has a saved face, that never wants to look weak, and for him, strength is doubling down. Strength is just repeating yourself over and over again, even if it's wrong. Strength is just never correcting course, like a bus driver that doesn't know the route that he's going. Oh, it's infuriating. It's infuriating because we're on the bus.
Like, we're on the bus. And we're looking out the window like, I don't recognize where any of this is going. This doesn't seem good at all. Greenland, the place with 60,000 people in it, we're really going after them. And he's saying, we need Greenland for national security. All right. What about the national security of Greenland? Do you know what I mean? It's something that he said his first term. His first term, he came out and he was like, I think we need Greenland. And we sort of let it go. We let it go because in his first term, he said a lot of things. You remember. It's almost too many to count. He came out in his first term and he was over here like, hey, look, hurricane come, drop a bomb in it. They don't know me, I'm DJT, all right? I'll drop a bomb in a hurricane, I don't care. Please, I wish a hurricane would. Please step to me, hurricane. Remember he had that chart. He had lots of charts, but there was one chart in particular he had of the path of a hurricane. And then he had drawn in marker the hurricane going somewhere else. And then everyone in the room was like, does he think he can control the hurricane with the marker? He's like, everyone said it was gonna go this way, it went this way. We were like, Mr. President, there are tens of thousands of residents that can attest that it did not go that way. The man was over here saying wild stuff. First term? Look, maybe we could address COVID by... clean it from the inside, you know what I mean? Like, let's try something. Stood in front of doctors and then was like, why don't we try cleaning it? See, y'all not even thinking like I'm thinking. Y'all not even on the level. Y'all over here, ooh, science, science, science. Y'all over here worried about microscopes. Let's look, let's really get to it. Let's really... Trust me. Trust me, look, take a couple sips. You'd probably be right as rain, probably, I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think proactively. You know, you got them over here talking blah, 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 blah all day. I'm over here trying to help people. And then he caught it. I remember the day he caught it too. I was like, oh. He old. Isn't this bad? He caught it that he's old. What's gonna happen? I don't know if y'all remember that time, the way that it was unfolded, but when they announced it, I remember getting the notification on my phone, like Trump got COVID. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. This is the time to listen to the science, Mr. President. I don't know if you're gonna live by your word, but the bleach right there. And then they pumped them full of whatever you need to survive it. They gave him that good stuff too, because remember he did a he did a walkout that night. Walked out, still on a balcony over here.
ripped his mask off, defiant, was standing there. So much happened first term. He looked at the sun. This man caught COVID and looked at the sun in the same time period. And looked. He looked at the sun like somebody who was told not to look at the sun. Looked up, they were like, "Mr. President, don't look at the sun." They screamed it out loud. And he was like, tell him. No, so many wild things were said that first term. Non-stop. Felt like every day something was said. So yeah, of course, you miss "Let's Take Greenland." That's like 3 p.m. on a random Wednesday. That doesn't stick out to you at all. I'm an adult now, and I'm one of the first generations of adults that got participation trophies. Like when we were kids, we were that first generation of like give everybody a trophy, build their confidence. But we were also the first generation that got attacked for getting participation trophies. But I didn't give myself the trophy. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't say I need a trophy. You wouldn't believe how disappointed I was when I found out there was a trophy store. I remember going there and just looking around. I was little, but I was like, wait a second. You can just get to say whatever you want. You don't even have to be good at, wow. You can just buy achievements. It doesn't seem right. You know? And I look at it this way. If you're a kid that was really good at something, and then at the end of the season or the end of the competition or something like that, everybody gets the same trophy. I could see that kid being upset because they're like, why did I work this hard to be so good and everybody gets the same thing that I get? I understand that argument, right? But I understand it coming from a kid. If you're the adult that's mad about it, but you don't even have like a kid that was competing, you just don't like the idea, you were never gonna get the trophy. That's weird to look at a kid you don't know and be like, they don't deserve it. Why do they get anything? It's like, oh no, that needs to be worked out in therapy. That's, oh jeez. Like when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to be an incredible athlete, you know? Because all my heroes at the time were athletes. They were all people that could do what nobody else could do. They were people that had set themselves apart in their achievements, dedicating their lives to being so good at something that they did it better than it had ever been done before, and maybe in a way that it could never be done again. Nobody could knock people out like Mike Tyson. Nobody could make a game-winning, buzzer-beating shot like Jordan. I wanted to be an athlete too. And so I started on my journey. Played that good old European football, played some soccer, right? And quickly realized that that sport wasn't for me. Because that sport is 90% running. As a child with asthma, it was ridiculous for me to be out there every Saturday morning fighting for my life. I was furious. At one point, I was talking to the coach. I was like, I gotta run back and forth every time, like the ball never gonna come back this way. And I was on this team. Now, the team that I was on they did this back in the day. This was huge in, 80s, 90s, 70s, stuff like that, but I don't know how much they do it now. Basically, if there's no team at like the elementary school or something like that, the community will band together and start like a little league, and they'll get different local businesses, like get like a laundromat to pay them some money for some uniforms, and then that's your name to advertise for them. Y'all become the Bubbles or whatever. And then you end up playing other local kids and everything. And so it's just very important that I point out that I didn't make a team. I was on a team somebody made. There's a huge difference. And I think about this one particular year, because there was this one year I was on the team and there was a kid that was good and a kid that was great, right? And the kid that was good, he was good, he was all right. But what I really loved about being on the team with him was that his mom, whenever it was her turn, because every parent took a turn bringing the halftime and post-game snack. Whenever it was her turn, she would pick oranges from the orange tree that they had, slice them up, put them in a bag, bring them to us. They were some of the best oranges I had ever had. So I was always excited when it was her turn. And there was this one particular Saturday where it was not only her turn, but the same parent that brought the halftime and post-game snack led us in the pre-game prayer. This is the Deep South, so we're going to pray before everything, right? And so we're all in a circle with our heads bowed and everything. And it doesn't take me long to notice that his mom is actively praying against the other team. Like, we all standing there holding hands, heads bowed and everything, but then at one point she's like, and you're in control of all things, Lord, so if you want an ankle to roll, let it roll. I kept my head bowed, but at one point I was like, does anybody else hear this? I don't think that's how you're supposed to pray. And there was one time the adults were talking, so I just, kept to myself. I didn't say anything, but I overheard her being like, oh, I hope he sticks with it. I think he's good enough to get a full ride scholarship. And in my head, I was like, ooh, we're 8. He barely better than me, and I'm not good. You better start saving. Because it's very hard for an 8-year-old to show like any sort of like athletic prowess, especially in a game like soccer. Because the kids that score goals, all they really have is a basic sense of distance management. Like they know to kick the ball far enough that they haven't kicked it all the way away from them, but they're also not dribbling all slow. They keep it at a good distance. And then, especially if they're running, they're going towards a goalie who's also 8. They're going towards a goalie who's also 8 years old, and somehow, no matter how much practice he is involved in, is not prepared for this. And so then they kick the ball to the left, the goalie jumps to the right out of panic. And so he scored the goal. It's not impressive, but he scored. There was a kid on our team that was good, but then there was a kid on our team that was great. Truly great. Like I had never seen anything like it. This kid could pull the ball back, kick it up in the air, jump in the air, kick it in the goal at an angle, come up grass stained, goal! He was on our team, and sometimes I'd still be upset. One time he did that exact move, and I was like, y'all must be practicing him extra because I didn't see any of those drills last week. And there was this one weekend we had a tournament. Now a tournament, okay, no matter how much money the parents were willing to try to raise or pay to keep their kids involved in this thing, nobody was willing to pay to bus us around the tri-state area every weekend. So every tournament had to be done in a day. And so if you won, you had to keep playing games until the end of the tournament. So if you won, you just kept playing in the hot Louisiana sun. Winning was a punishment. And there was this one Saturday. You know, we got a kid that's good and a kid that's great, so we've been winning. This is our third game. And the kid who is great has scored 4 goals before the half. That's a lot. All by himself, 4-0. They haven't scored on us at all. And it's not because our defenders were good. Our defenders were trash. I was one of them. And this kid is scoring all the goals, but it's not because he's being a ball hawk. It's just anytime we get the ball, we pass it to him. I wasn't trying to be a hero, mainly because my coach said, don't try to be a hero. In fact, when the ball came to me, I was like, you know what to do with that? And so this kid is zooming down the pitch for his 5th goal. And the defenders on the other team are devastated. The goalie is embarrassed. You know? And as he's coming towards him, one of the defenders sees him coming and just steps out of the way. Steps out of the way and at the last second puts his foot in the way and pushes him down as hard as he can. And then the defender on the other team, that kid's dad, stands up and goes, let's go, Henry. Let's go, play hard. Which was a huge mistake because now the dad on our team knows who to hit. So then he got up and started walking across the field through children like traffic. We still playing it. He over here locked in. And he walked up to this other dad. You know, I can't hear what's being said because I'm a defender on the other side of the field, but I see them getting closer and closer. You can tell with the body language that they're both very tense. And then I hear some mumbling, then I hear some yelling, and then the dad from the other team hauls off and pushes our dad. Our dad falls back a little bit, shakes his head, and goes, bah! Right? Now, this is a team full of dirty players and dirty parents, because then parents from the other team tried to jump our dad. But then our dad was like, anybody can get it. Anybody, okay? He started kicking and punching and elbowing and kneeing and headbutting. A few people, I'm pretty sure, were trying to get out the way. And then Henry sees what's happening to his dad and the other parents on the field, and so he starts running down the field. Leave my dad alone! And he runs up behind our dad, climbs him like a little spider monkey, and wraps his arms around his neck. Now, our dad can't hit this kid because he's right behind him, but he can use him to hit everybody else. He started spinning around as hard as he could. Little Henry hanging on. Grown men were catching cleats in the face. And I was just standing there like, that's the most athletic man in the world. That's who I want to be when I grow up. And so I can understand that, you know, you get to the end of a season, and then we all get a trophy. We got one kid on our team that's good, one kid on our team that's great, and then I was looking at my trophy like, all right, y'all could have at least made them different sizes because I was really just present. I'm not gonna lie to you. You think about that now as an adult, and there are some parts of the concept of a participation trophy that are wild to me, if I'm being honest. Like, who would have thought that the Nobel Peace Prize would basically become this sort of participation trophy. You see this woman handing over her Peace Prize to Trump. Not that peace is a competition, but even if it was, he lost. Oh, it's so crazy. Why? I don't know why he cares about it so much. Obama did get it, didn't he? Obama did get it. That's true. Even holding it, it's like, you don't really believe that one's yours. There's no way. There's no way. I know his brain is soup, but there's no way that he actually believes it works like that. It doesn't even have your name on it. That's like letting your friend hold your diploma and then he thinks he's a lawyer all of a sudden. Like, that's crazy. Not a man of peace at all. You know? See what's going on in our own country. You're willing to go to war with your own people. You know? Threatening the Insurrection Act. That's, man. Sometimes irony's annoying. You literally led one. And then like, I can't stress this enough. Trump threatening the Insurrection Act for a protest in Minneapolis off of the actions of an ICE agent who also didn't need to be there, because remember, they're looking for Bond villain level daycare Somali swindlers who have somehow sucked up all the money in the world and brought it to Minneapolis. Like, this goose chase you already created is why this thing happened that the people are protesting about, that most of the people in the country literally agree with the protesters, and you're willing to send in the military for the insurrection that you invoking the Insurrection Act is like, it's like Diddy being like, pervert, like that.
You seen him all over the Daily Show. You seen him on YouTube. I want y'all to put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together. Give it up for Josh Johnson.
My most recent obsession is this court case, this lawsuit against Cardi B. All right. If you're not familiar with Cardi B, Cardi B is a rapper, and she is also a national treasure. Cardi B is incredible, and this case is pretty wild. Basically, what is being alleged in this case is that Cardi B assaulted a security guard. It's alleged that Cardi B assaulted the security guard, and you hear both stories throughout the case. The security guard's story is that she was at work, you know, securing the building. And then Cardi B walks in, and then she's like, oh, Cardi B. And Cardi B didn't seem to like that she was approached, that Cardi B was like, what are you doing right now? Why are you in my face? And that Cardi B got nasty with her very quickly. And so they were in the elevator together, and she said that she followed Cardi B out of the elevator to clear up any confusion. I don't know if it was to apologize or anything, but she admits that she did follow Cardi B into the elevator and out of the elevator. And then she said Cardi B really lost it and started cursing at her and everything, and then started swinging on her and stuff, and that she got a little nick on her cheek from Cardi B scratching her face, right? And then the receptionist and the doctor that Cardi B was there to see, because Cardi B was in the building for a doctor's appointment, that they broke up the fight, and then everybody went about their way. But because of this assault, because of this nick on her face, she is suing Cardi B for about $24 million. I'll tell you right now, for $24 million, Cardi B could cut up my whole leg, okay? If Cardi B chopped up my leg and gave it back to me in a bucket, I would be like, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. $24 million. That's crazy. So then, Cardi B's account of things is that she was going to the doctor. At the time, she was pregnant. She didn't want anybody to know she was pregnant. She didn't tell anybody, and she didn't even tell her security guard where she was going that day, her personal security, because she was just trying to keep this whole thing private, right? And even the doctor's office had blocked out time just to make sure they didn't have other clients coming in back and forth, and Cardi B was gonna be the last appointment of the day, right? So Cardi B shows up to the building, and then immediately she hears Cardi B, and so already that's not ideal, right? Like that could happen at any time. Cardi B is very famous, but then she is getting in the elevator, and then she notices the person who screamed Cardi B got in the elevator with her and has a phone in her face, and so she goes, "What are you doing? Aren't you security?" Because she had security on her. And then she's talking to her while she's in the elevator, and then she exits the elevator, and she said she can still feel this person behind her. So then she turns around, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you recording me? You gotta get out of my face. I'm trying to go to the doctor." And then that's when the person who was recording her, the security guard, got real angry and was like, "I could do what I want. It's my phone. This is my building," which is a misunderstanding of what security is. If that really was said, oof. I've never met a security guard who thought they were clocking in to own the building for a little while. But then they got into what Cardi B says was only a verbal altercation. There was the receptionist and the doctor that came into, I guess, the hallway to break things up. But she said, I didn't touch her, she didn't touch me, so I didn't really think of it again, you know? Because if you don't know Cardi B, you should at least know that she's used to verbal altercations. I'm sure they don't stick with her. She was on Love and Hip Hop. And so then she just sort of goes about her life, and then she gets hit with this $24 million lawsuit. This whole thing, to me, just my opinion, but this whole thing feels like when that dude tried to sue Gwyneth Paltrow for millions. Remember that dude, Gwyneth Paltrow, if you weren't familiar with this, basically Gwyneth Paltrow went skiing one time, and then this other dude went skiing, and I don't know exactly how it went down, but I guess they bumped into each other at some point, and then the guy got up and he was like, "Wow, you're Gwyneth Paltrow." Oh, I'm ruined. No, because this is the thing. coming after Cardi B seems like kind of easy in a lawsuit like this, just because she was on shows like Love and Hip Hop, and in Love and Hip Hop there's a lot of this. In Love and Hip Hop, whether you're watching Atlanta, Hollywood, New York, there's a lot of almost fights. You know what I mean? Usually it is stirred up by the producers. They get everybody nice and drunk, and then they're like, hey, you won't believe what she said. And then they always believe what she said. And so, you know, Cardi B's been known to pretty much never back down. In fact, there was this old case. I don't think anything ever came to it in like a court sense, but Cardi B was doing I think it was a festival, could have been a concert, and somebody threw something on stage. You know, somebody threw like a water bottle, and this has happened a lot in like the past. I don't know. People lost their minds through COVID and everything, and now people sometimes even film themselves throwing something on stage. I don't know if it's like to get a reaction out of the performer, and every performer has a different reaction to it. There are some people who, as soon as something gets thrown, they walk off stage, show's over, and they don't even try to continue. There are some people that try to dodge it, act like it didn't happen. There are some people that try to dodge it and then try to find the person who did it and get security to kick them out and everything. Well, basically, there was a time where someone threw a water bottle at Cardi B, and I believe she dodged it, but she must have seen who did it, because she immediately threw the microphone at them. They probably thought Cardi B was gonna be some easy pickings. They were like, I'll throw my water bottle now. She's clearly unarmed. And can I just say, throwing a microphone at somebody is one of the funniest projectiles to throw. Because it's the only one where you get to hear their reaction to something being thrown at them in real time. Imagine Cardi B throw a microphone right back at them, and they're like, oh, is that a... Last thing the crowd hears before the show ends is, whoa, watch out! Even better if they turned around, they threw the water bottle, they're like, I think I got it! And so, well, they had this court case, and I don't know. Cardi B better than me. If I were me, I'd be losing my mind right now. $24 million for... that's what she's alleged. Like, the security guard is alleging $24 million. I don't even think I got $24 million worth of head. I think even if I was in a horrific accident, I'd probably only get like 10, maybe. And that's with half the head missing. $24 million just feels insane. And so, you know, they go to court, and Cardi B's got a lawyer, security guard's got a lawyer, and security guard's lawyer does seem bad at this. I don't know the law. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even know some of the stuff they're saying. When they get into like the real nitty gritty, like the weedsiness of the law, I don't know what's happening, right? All I know from all my hours of watching Law and Order is that if you're a lawyer and you're talking in court, you're talking, right? And then the other side keeps saying objection, and then the judge keeps saying sustain, you're not exactly doing well. And that's what's been happening this entire trial. The judge basically sustaining the whole thing. Like, this lawyer for the security guard keep withdrawing his own questions mid-question because he can feel a sustain coming. And like, some of the questions don't have anything to do with anything. It's one thing if you're badgering the witness, or you're really trying to like rile them up and get them to admit something, you try and catch them in a lie or something like that. It doesn't even feel like that's what's happening. This dude will just be asking questions that have nothing to do with anything or the case. It feels like he's just a Cardi B fan. The amount of times that Cardi B's lawyers have had to say objection relevance is astounding. He's asking her all sorts of questions. At one point, though, he gets back on track and he asks Cardi B, you're saying that you felt threatened by my client. The security guard says, client, you saying you feel threatened by my client. I'm wondering why you feel so threatened. What was the issue? What was the issue? And then Cardi B says, I was pregnant and she's coming at me. I think she wants to beat me up and I'm pregnant. Hello? Hello? And then he goes, hello, hello. Hello, I'm here. And that's when it occurred to me that maybe what's happening is that this security guard's lawyer, maybe, just throwing it out there, potentially has never met a black person. I think if you've never met a black person in your life, and your first black person is Cardi B, that's a bit of a crash course. That would be like if I never met a white person in my life. Never met a white person, never talked to a white person, didn't even see one in a movie. Never met a white person. Then my first white person ever was Bill Nye the Science Guy. I think I might be walking away with some incorrect assumptions about white people. I think I go back home and tell all my friends and family, oh yeah, white people, they love space. No, they got a bunch of facts about turtles ready at the hip. Oh, and they love bow ties. Can't stop them from wearing a bow tie. The only time I've seen something like this exact moment, this type of thing, this like misunderstanding in that way, was on a TV show called To Catch a Predator. Okay. I don't know if you remember To Catch a Predator, but in case you never watched it, this was some insane reality TV. Basically, To Catch a Predator, they did just that. They would lure and then trap predators online who thought they were talking to underage kids, right? And they would have all these long conversations with them, and then they try to meet up with them. But when they tried to meet up with them, they would go to like the Sting house, right? And at this house, they would show up thinking they're meeting this underage person. Turns out they're meeting Chris Hansen. If you don't know Chris Hansen, you don't know Dateline. All you need to know about Chris Hansen was he was the To Catch a Predator. Oh, you'd hate to see Chris Hansen coming if you were a predator. And so they would lure these predators to this house, and then especially season 1 was like no other thing. Season 1, when people didn't know what was happening, that was some of the wildest television I've ever seen. Because they didn't know who Chris Hansen was, all of them. Some of them did, right? But most of them did not. And so they'd show up to this house thinking that they're gonna meet this underage kid, and they might even call out a name or something. Then Chris Hansen would walk in. Chris Hansen walk in holding some papers and everything. Now, because they don't know who Chris Hansen is, they think maybe this is the person's dad or something. So they immediately feel caught, but they don't know how caught they are, right? So then Chris Hansen would walk in and be like, hi, how's it going? And then he'd tell them to sit down, and they always sat down. Chris Hansen would sit them down, and then he'd ask them what they were doing here. And they'd try to come up with some sort of lie on the fly or something. And then he would ask them how they know this underage kid, and they'd try to come up with some lie on the fly, something like that. And then Chris Hansen would be like, oh, that's interesting because I have the transcripts of your conversation. And no matter what color they were, you watch the color leave their face. And then Chris Hansen would ask them what they meant by certain things in the transcript of the messages and stuff, and these people would just sink. They were terrified, devastated, right? And then Chris Hansen would be like, okay, all right, you've answered all my questions. You can go. And even the predator would be like, what? Really? Like, yeah, you can go. You can go. And they'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, I thought my life was ruined or something. All right. And then they would get ready to walk out. And when they walked out, they were immediately tackled by the local police department.
And not just tackled, like properly football tackled. This would have been unnecessary roughness in the NFL. This is the only time nobody's gonna take you to task over police brutality. You know what I mean? Because the police, to their credit, they would announce themselves and say, get on the ground. They were just saying, get on the ground when they were already airborne. Like, police would be in the air, legs up, get on the ground. It's like, you know your shoulder about to be in his neck.
They would tackle him and they cuff him up and then they throw him in the car and they take him to jail, and then in jail they would go to the interrogation room and they'd have to answer all of Chris Hansen's questions all over again. I guess him asking was just practice. You know, and there was this one time where this guy comes in, and I don't remember what season it was, but this guy had a very interesting aesthetic. Like he was white, but he had a very like Vanilla Ice vibe to him. You know what I mean? And so he walked in, but when he walked in, he was like. Chris Hansen walked in, and then when Chris Hansen walked in and told him to sit down, he was like, I. And then Chris Hansen does the thing that he does, asks him why he's there, asks him why he's been talking to this underage kid and everything. And then a thing I forgot to mention before that also happened in all the episodes was when Chris Hansen finally announced himself, where he was like, I'm Chris Hansen with NBC's To Catch a Predator. Cameras would come out from all these different rooms, right? And it was always, without fail, too many cameras. It was always a number of cameras where I'm like, there's no way all those cameras on. There would be people with cameras in the hallway because they couldn't get in the kitchen, just lifting the camera up. Be way too many cameras. And so then the cameras roll in once Chris Hansen announces himself, and then this guy sitting there pulls down his cap a little bit and says to Chris Hansen and all of the cameramen, I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me? Repeats it. I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me? You feel me? You feel me? And Chris Hansen, without missing a beat, this man says, I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me? And Chris Hansen says, yes, we are filming. And I haven't seen such a misunderstanding until the security guard's lawyer says to Cardi B, hello? Yeah, I'm here. That man lucky. That man lucky. Cardi B at no point in her testimony hit him with a like that. That would have broken his brain. That would have ruined his life. He would have bent his knees. Oh! Everybody get out! What's happening? No. Because once again, this dude is wild. This dude is asking her questions about things that have nothing to do with anything. At one point, I think he's really, in his head, he's having his, like, Perry Mason runaway jury moment. Like he's doing something right out of Law and Order in his head, because he gets his planted stance. He starts going in on Cardi B, and he says, today versus yesterday, all right? Yesterday, you had short black hair. Today, it's long blonde hair. 2 days ago, it was long black hair. Which is it? I don't know why he thought he had her. That was incredible. I don't know what I think he expected Cardi B to be like, I don't know. Oh no. What's happening? I thought he probably had some follow-up questions ready. He's like, if you're changing your hair, how do we know when you're not changing your story? All right? Miss Cardamom Basil. If that is your real name. And Cardi B just laughed it off. She was like, they're wigs. Like, what do you want me to do? And then, he gets into the stuff that's more relevant to the case, and he's trying to grill her back and forth with question after question after question. And he finally gets to this point where he's like, why did you feel threatened? She says the pregnancy thing and everything. But he's like, you said yourself that my client is about your height. Why would you be intimidated by her? And then Cardi B goes, yeah, I mean, she's a little bit taller than me, but she's bigger than me and everything. And I don't know what she wants to do. Now it seems like this person wants to beat me up. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they went from wanting a picture to beat me up or just wanted to beat me up and record. I don't know what's happening, right? And so then this guy goes, why are you so intimidated by it? You're saying that she's bigger than you. What makes you say that? And then Cardi B goes, like, do I have to say it? No. And then he's like, are you calling my client fat? Are you calling my client fat? All right? Did you call her fat that day? In fact, you called her fat that day, didn't you? And then Cardi B is like, no, I was only calling her the B word. Like, it was really just that. I didn't really have time for anything else, Sort of said that over and over again. Didn't really get to work in any other details. And this lawyer, I don't know, like, even it's like now what we're getting into is stuff that I guess isn't nice, but I don't know how it helps his case, because then he just keeps egging it on. He's like, but you said that, and you said other things, didn't you? You said other things. And then Cardi B, to her credit, it starts admitting everything that she said, right? She starts just repeating verbatim in court. She just cursing in court openly, just non-stop cursing in court, right? And he's like, is that what you said? Say exactly what you said. I mean, she's right here, right now. Say it again. Say it to her face. Say it again. And then even Cardi B is like, what is happening? Like, you want me to curse her out again? Like, is this one like a freebie or something? Like, I can't tell what's happening. It's like, no, you were so threatened. You were so completely threatened by my client. What makes you so threatened? And then she's like, well, at the time I was pregnant and I was 130 pounds. All right? And then she was like twice my size. You know what I mean? And then once again, he gets on the same thing. He's like, are you calling my client fat? And she's like, no, I'm not saying. She just, No, what? I don't know. What are you trying to say? Say it. Say what you want to say. There's no harm here. Say it. She's security heavy. That's so much worse. And this man keeps going. He's like, what do you mean security heavy? What are you trying to say? She's security heavy. What does that even mean? And Cardi B is like, you know, she built like she protect buildings. If it were me and I was Cardi B, I'd probably be sitting there furious. Cardi B better than me, you know? I'd probably be sitting there so angry. I'm just trying to live my life. I was trying to go to the doctor privately. My business is always out there. People get paid to get up in my business and everything. And I'm just trying to have a quiet moment. I'm not feeling well. I believe was her first child and everything. No one knows that she's pregnant. And then this whole thing blows up and then she gets sued for $24 million. You know, she's better than me. I'd be sitting there furious at that lawyer. And if I was a security guard sitting there watching this happen, I'd be furious at that lawyer. What are you doing? You just getting me roasted in open court. This doesn't feel like it's getting me any closer to $24 million. Oh. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm better than anybody, okay? If times get tough, if things get rough for me, I run into George Clooney. It's just me and George Clooney in the hallway. I know I haven't been able to pay my rent or anything. Is his word against mine? I'm gonna see George Clooney. I'm gonna put my hand on the ground. I'm just gonna. Look at what George Clooney did to me. Why would Ocean's 11's George Clooney do this? I thought he was a good man. I can't believe that Ocean 12's own George Clooney would step on my hand like this. What's that you say? He still owns the tequila company? Oh no. Who would have thought Ocean's 13 George Clooney would be capable of something like this? I thought he'd be president one day. Nah, easily. Easily. It doesn't have to be George Clooney. I don't even need, like, A-list. I really don't. If I see Neil deGrasse Tyson, times are tough, I run into Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'm throwing a bowling ball straight up in the air and catching it with my head. I was like, oh no! I can't believe Neil deGrasse Tyson did one of Newton's laws of motion to me. I think it was the first one. No. Doesn't have any popular person will do, you know? If I see William H. Macy, I'm gonna run into a wall like that dude from the show Fargo. I'm gonna run right into. If I ever meet William H. Macy, he better pray we outside. Because if she's trying to get money out of Cardi B, you know, this is not the way. She over here admitting that she only got nicked. Just a little. That quick. That. And she said that she had to have 2 plastic surgeries. even brought the plastic surgeon to court, and the plastic surgeon came into court with a picture, right? Now, the plastic surgeon, this is also why I feel like this case is bogus, because she doesn't have a picture of the scratch from the day that it happened. Her plastic surgeon had to come in and do a before and after picture, and honestly, I don't know if that dude a plastic surgeon. I don't see what he did. Like, it's... Even when they tried to show the cut, like the little scar that Cardi B supposedly gave her, maybe they didn't zoom in enough. Like, I don't know but they had the little line pointing straight to it, and I'm squinting. It doesn't even look like Cardi B did $24 of damage. Oh, you try and get money out of Cardi B. This is not the way to do it. All you gotta do is make sure y'all are still alone. The other problem, and the reason this whole case feels fishy, is because her lawyers, and I suppose even her, didn't want the receptionist or the doctor that broke them up testifying. That seems suspicious. If I got $24 million worth of damage done to me, I'd call everybody who was within earshot. You know what I mean? Oh, you heard me. You remember? I was like, oh no, $24 million just fell out of my face, right? So the fact that her lawyers didn't want those people testifying seems fishy. And then you kind of understand why. I don't know if she was a fully surprise witness or anything, but I know they were trying to block it for a long time. And so the receptionist finally sits down on the stand and testifies, right? And the security guard's lawyer is over here asking just all the relevant questions, right? And some of the questions are getting objected to and then sustained because they're a little leading. You know what I mean? Like he asked a question about how wasn't it my client's job to see fit who should and should not be in the building? And then obviously Cardi B's lawyers objected, because how is the receptionist for one office building in this entire building supposed to know all the ins and outs of the security guard's job, right? And they get to this moment where the receptionist comes out because she says that she heard a commotion, and she gets out there and Cardi B is up against a wall like this, like back up against the wall, and security guard is yelling in her face, right? And so then she, immediately upset by what she's seeing, gets in between the two of them and is breaking it up and tells the security guard, I don't know what's going on here, but you need to go back to your post. This is very unprofessional, everything. And everybody's screaming just so everybody can be heard, right? And the lawyer gets excited. He's like, and so do you think that this could be the moment that Cardi B scratched my client's face? And then the receptionist goes, actually, I'm really the only one that got hit out of the both of them. Like, I was... You know, you try to be a good Samaritan, but... And not only does she say that she's like the only one that got hit between them, but she got a scratch on her face, a scratch that bled, and a scratch on her face that bled that came from the security guard. You could tell the lawyer's out here panicking. He's... Whoops. Okay. All right. And so then he starts, in my opinion at least, sort of like badgering her a little bit with questions to try to like double back from the fact that now it looks like the only person that may have assaulted someone is his client. And so he then says, he's like, yes, but you also weren't there the entire time, so you didn't witness the entire altercation. Maybe Cardi B spit on my client before you got there. Maybe she scratched her face before you got there, but you got there and you broke it up and you say that you didn't see anything. But maybe something happened before you got there. You don't know. You don't know. And then the receptionist was like, yeah, I guess I didn't know what it was like to be there till I was there. Yes, I suppose. Like... You got me there. Because it's not just the scratch, I should point out. The scratch is the main thing, but the security guard is also, to my knowledge at least, alleging that Cardi B got her fired as well. You know? And then they had the doctor testify. And I won't say that the security guard's lawyers tried to poison the jury, because they were pushing a narrative the entire time, and the narrative was that obviously the receptionist and the doctor would back Cardi B because she was a client of theirs, a patient, so it benefits them to back up her story, right? And they even say as much while the two people are on the stand, you know? But then the receptionist says, no, actually, the security guard hit me up and said we should sue Cardi B. And I was like, nah, because you started it. Which is also not great for a security guard's lawyer. He's over here, okay, well, look, nothing further. And then they had the doctor testify. Now, the doctor was the last to sing, so by the time he comes out, the receptionist is getting in between Cardi B and the security guard. So he said he was also very upset about what was happening, you know, and he was trying to make sure this thing got broken up. Now, the doctor said, look, what I saw wasn't just unprofessional, it was very concerning to me. And I got out there, and the only thing I could think to do was try to match the body language of the security guards. I don't even know what that means, but I imagine it means he ran up out there, he saw three people arguing, and he was like, hey! Cut that out! Because by his own account, it's not like he the one pulling people from people or anything. Reception has already broken it up and taken some punishment, and so... And then took Cardi B in, they had their appointment and everything, and then he was so disturbed by what happened and what he saw that he reached out to Superior for the security guard, and, you know, said that soon after that she was taken downstairs during a shift and like let go, right? And that also doesn't look great for her case, because she alleges that Cardi B got her fired, and now this dude in open court was like, no, it was me. It was me. It was me 100%. And I guess I'm just coming from a place of like, if you really wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you don't wait until there's other people involved that are all going to have different accounts of what happened. If you wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you just walk up to Cardi B before she gets in the elevator and say, hey, Cardi B, how you doing? And then throw yourself down some stairs. That's going to be the easiest way to do it, you know? Throw yourself down some stairs, all the while screaming out Cardi B singles for every step that you hit. You finally hit that last step, you're like, oh, why would top charting artist Cardi B do this? Oh, she's really about that life. These are bloody shoes.
Mira.